Welcome everyone to our now third annual uh, Hoops Product Update and Developer Day virtual. So nice to have you here with us. We have a great program that is prepared today, and we really have tried to listen to our partners and people who are participating in these events. So one thing you'll notice is we're going to do a deeper dive into some technical information. So initially, volume up. Let's see if I can do that. Thanks. Let me see if I can change my audio settings. And the microphone, the gain, yeah. Let's use this microphone. Thank you so much, Camilo. So now you should hear me a lot better. Look at that. Yeah, I got the nods. Have to do that again. Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you here today. We got great stuff. It's going to be technical, and we're really, really pleased to have you. So let's maybe go to the next slide. And we're going to be starting with our product update, but then also have a deep dive into some of our technical information, look at some code. But the reason we're here is because we're all fueling innovation in the world of 3D engineering technology. And that is what drives us here at TechSoft. And it's so exciting to see the different things that you're doing with the toolkits that we're able to provide you with. So it could be 3D printing building facades. It could be using machine learning to auto quote parts without user interaction. It could be making more fuel efficient planes, trains, and automobiles. It's really exciting to see what you do. And we value that partnership. We're so grateful to work with you, especially amidst some really tough times and things going on in this world. We're coming off of a pandemic. Our supply chains have been bottlenecked. We also have so many other things that are going on, a chip shortage, and now also on top of all of this conflict in Ukraine, where our heart really goes out to all of those affected, a humanitarian crisis, and it all affects us all, but particularly the people there in Ukraine. We really do give them our best wishes, and we hope this comes to a quick end. At the same time, we know that this really affects everybody. I can't even speak. I'm here in the United States. So many of you are located in Europe. No doubt this weighs heavy on your hearts as well. And it's affecting our businesses as well. We have contractors that we work very closely with in the Ukraine, and no doubt this is affecting you. So we're so grateful that you showed up today amidst everything that's going on, and we're grateful for your partnership and to be able to work and talk about fueling innovation as well. So thank you so much. A little housekeeping though. Please mute yourself. That's super simple. Feel free to type there in the chat. We'd love to hear where you're from. So if you want to type in there, we'll have Q&A sessions after each of our major parts of the meeting. So there'll be a lot of opportunity to kind of stick around and engage. So make sure that you have those, type them in the chat, your questions, and we'll make sure we're able to hit them rapid fire at the end of our presentations. Also, if you notice at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's also a live translation. And so if English isn't your first language, and you might have a hard time understanding some of our accents, I know it's a struggle for me sometimes, live translation may or may not help. At the bottom of your Zoom screen, you can enable that. Maybe we go to the next slide. We'll talk about the different technology you'll see today is available for evaluation on our website, techsoft3d.com. We want to give you a gift of what this technology is and do a deeper dive into what we're doing here at TechSoft. But most, if not all, of the technology you'll see today is available for free evaluation. So if you're not currently a partner of TechSoft, licensing our software, you can go to techsoft3d.com, choose your adventure, and then be able to go either to the Hoops web platform or go to the Hoops native platform for desktop and mobile development, and be able to use our different SDKs there for 60 to 90 days, I believe. Also, we want to make sure if we also highlight our forum. And so questions that may not be answered or that come in late will be posted on our forum, forum.techsoft3d.com, as well as the recording of this session. And so that's also a question. The first question people ask is this going to be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded, and so you'll be able to find that here on our forum, as well as other great information, code snippets, discussions around other topics, other events that are coming up. And so we really are trying to build a technical community here in our forum. So we'd love to hear from you and be able to engage more, kind of keep these conversations going. Also, let's talk about the technology. You'll see just a little bit today before we dig deep into that. And maybe we could have one of our hosts mute if participants if they're not quite muted. Okay, great. So thanks so much. Actually, before we look at our different SDKs, here's our agenda. So first hour or so, we're going to be talking about our products, where we've been, where we're going here at TextOff 3D. So also our product roadmap, focusing on our visualization toolkits, platform, as well as our data access and data publishing toolkits. We really do encourage you to stick around for our developer day. Even during our intermission, we're going to have a demo from our technical fellow, Guido Hoffman, showing some cool things he's been working on when it comes to kinematics within our graphics engine. But then followed by a deep dive into some the metal graphics driver that we've been working on in our visualization toolkits. And then some presentations from our partners. So looking at SolidWorks, MBD, Hexagon Metrology, that we're going to have a live demo of a CMM arm, as well as Thermal Analytics, talking about their migration from one graphics engine to another. And then follow up with a code deep dive around our new analysis toolkits that we've partnered and acquired from Citron and VKI, as well as a deep dive into our PRC creation using Hoops Exchange. So creating geometry and creating assembly trees and traversing those. So a lot of great stuff there. Stick around. We're really excited to be able to present this to you today. So what are we going to be looking at primarily? Our primary products. There's going to be 4. So these are our Hoops SDKs. We sell probably 12 different SDKs, but these are the main ones we'll be focusing on today. They're Hoops Exchange for CAD file access. So that allows you to bring in over 30 different mechanical CAD, as well as building and construction file formats. We have 2 graphics engines, Hoops Visualize and Hoops Communicator. Hoops Visualize is for desktop, mobile, and AR and VR, allowing you to build applications with 3D, be able to see and interact with 3D geometry on those platforms. Hoops Communicator is essentially the same for doing that on the web. And then Hoops Publish allows you now to kind of finish that workflow and publish out your data in a shareable 3D format. It could be 3D PDF in a very interactive form. Other CAD standards like STEP. We have new, and you'll be looking at a little bit of this with Nikhil from SolidWorks, HTML output. So that finishes off our portfolio. These are organized in different platforms, so they really are designed to be integrated with one another. For native development, so Hoops Exchange does run on desktop and mobile, as well as our web platform, which takes this and allows you to build a fully featured web platform. And if you want a unified experience, and we see a lot of this happening, we have the Hoops platform that takes all of our SDKs and makes it much easier to unify the experience across any platform, desktop, mobile, and web. So just a brief overview of what we're talking about today. When you might be scratching your head and asking, hey, what's this about? That's just, if you're not familiar with our toolkits, those are our toolkits. And again, they're available for free evaluation on texoff3d.com. So that's it for me. We'll come back and talk about some other technology soon. But I want to hand it over to Eric Hultgren, our product manager of visualization solutions. He's going to talk about platforms, and it's really, I want to give it to him and Lionel for the rest of this hour to talk about where we've been and where we're going with these main toolkits.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. So let's dive right in. And the first thing we're going to talk about is what we've done across the entire Hoops platform. Like Jonathan said, the platform is our way of combining all these different toolkits to bring out the best in them and to make it as easy as possible for you to get this functionality that we provide into your applications. We actually have a couple slides of what we did, and you're going to see that throughout the individual product breakouts too, just so that everything isn't up splattered on one slide. So there's three things that we focus on the most across the platforms and on the individual products each year for our partners. And the number one priority is partner issues, right? This is the most important stuff for our partners. You want your issues you find, whether there's bugs or enhancements that you need to unlock functionality and workflows for you, those are top priority. Alongside that, access to format updates, right? When a new CAD file format comes out, new version, you need to be able to bring those in as soon as possible after release. We know that the industry starts adopting it and testing it right away. And so we want to be able to bring you updates to those formats as quickly as possible. We don't want you to have to wait for 6 months. And then finally, the third piece of this trilogy is updating technology as required. And last year, that was mostly focused on supporting the Apple Silicon platform, right? New architecture, new platform for all of our partners that were shipping on those. They wanted immediate support. So we went through and updated the underlying technology to take advantage of that. So these are the three pillars of our trying to satisfy our partners' needs. Now, if we take another step, we can actually look at what we did across the platform inside the BIM or AEC market. And this has been a focal point for us the last couple of years. You've heard it in the previous summits. We're going to lead off talking about functionality we added across the products for IFC spatial relationships. When you're working in the IFC models and inside these different BIM workflows, you actually need to get these relationships. We focused on the spatial relationships first. We added this inside Exchange. It's been added to Communicator. We have APIs and visual components to be able to get this information. And you'll see we will be adding it to Visualize, but it didn't quite make it in. We also made significant improvements to our support for DWG and Revit. These are two absolutely critical file formats. So we wanted to make sure that you got best performance, the metadata you needed, and that in the case of drawings, everything gets displayed correctly. Finally, one exciting thing that we rolled out last year was actually a first prototype of a new file format that we're going to be bringing out this year, and that is Navisworks. We know how important Navisworks file support is for our partners, if for no other reason than you can take so many different other file formats that we don't support, bring it in to Navisworks, and then export it out, and now you can bring that inside your applications. So Lionel is actually going to have more information on that on his slides. So that's what we did last year. Let's talk about what we're doing this year across the platform. The main focus is still the same. We need to make sure that we take care of your issues, your enhancements, updating those formats as quickly as possible, and updating any underlying technology, whether that's supporting framework, new platforms, or as you'll see for Visualize, new drivers. We do have another project going on here, which kind of falls under the technology update, and we actually want to add a way for you to expose and use all the different options that are included inside Exchange through Communicator. So for those of you who use Communicator already, you know we only expose a little bit of the power from Exchange. And we want to make it easier for you to do that. Okay. If we shift again, we look at what we're looking to add on the platform across BIM and AEC. You see there's 3 different projects coming out. One of those will be an out-of-the-box BIM-based viewer. The idea is dedicated around the workflows and the needs for this BIM AEC market. We'll still have the CAD-focused viewer that's always been inside Communicator, but this one will give you an immediate BIM viewer out of the box, works the way you expect it to, like industry applications, and we want to be able to provide source code so that you can use that inside your applications. We're going to be adding Navisworks as an official reader. That is scheduled actually for the end of Q2. So we are hoping to get another preview out, I believe, and then the official version comes out in June. And finally, we're looking at adding yet another new reader. So big stuff over on Exchange. In this case, this is for Bentley MicroStation. We're hoping to have the first version of that out at the end of the year. So I'm going to hand it over now to Lionel, who is our product manager for Hoops Exchange and Publish.
Yes, thanks, Eric. Hello, everybody. So first, for those that are not familiar with Group Exchange, I will make a quick intro about it, and similarly to Eric with the platforms, I will move to what has been delivered last year in 2021, and finally give you an overview of our roadmap for this year. So Exchange is an engineering data access SDK that delivers access to other 30 CAD formats and BIM formats also, and it comes through a single interface. So it's fundamentally about allowing your application to read CAD and BIM formats, like, for example, native CATIA V5, NX, Creo, Revit, and more, and also exporting data from your application to standard formats such as STEP, GT, and others. So we know that our partners are developing many different types of application for different purposes. It can be a CAD application, a CAM, manufacturing as service, CMM, ARVR, digital factory, AEC BIM, and many more. And what's key for them is to have a fast and accurate access to all the data needed by these different workflows. So Exchange can read all this data without depending on the original software that created them. Another key point is to enable advanced workflows. We see them more and more, and it comes by providing non-geometric information such as metadata, product manufacturing information, so 3D tolerances, PMIs, and also features that will help to automatize processes, avoiding recreating data that already exists in the native file. And the third point is that also OOPS Exchange must integrate into solutions that are having a modeling kernel, like Siemens Parasolid, ACES, Open Cascade, and others. So in that context, there is a strong need around geometry quality so that your application can work with the imported data. So moving to what has been delivered last year. So as said, Eric, yeah, our priority is fixing your issues, but the second one is, of course, to deliver quick format updates. So it's also our priority. And last year, we have delivered across the year 13 format updates. What's important to note is that the major formats like CATIA V5, NX, Creo, and SolidWorks have been delivered with an average time of 65 days. And aside this, as I said, we have dedicated significant resources on issues and also feature requests so that you can well address your workflows. So aside these format updates, we have been working on several other projects, of course. So we have introduced a new GLTF writer. So I think most of you know, but GLTF quickly is an open standard format developed by the Kronos group. So it supports 3D models with appearances, including physically based rendering for realistic rendering. And it's mostly used for consumption of 3D assets in the web, in AR context, and also it enables importing this data, this 3D data in various tools, for example, Microsoft Office. We have also released the support of the mates for CATIA V5. So mates are also called mating conditions or assembly constraints. So in fact, the mates are the semantic definition of how components have been assembled and positioned together in the CAD application, in the CAD package. For example, you can assemble together two components by making some planes coincident and some axes coincident. So accessing to the mates directly from the native CAD file will help our partners from manufacturing, digital factory, and robotic to automate their processes, their workflows when it comes to mostly, I would say, kinematics or 3D tolerance analysis, and also robot path planning, for example. And last, as part of our efforts to deliver high quality BREP to our partners from CAM or CMM, for example, we are developing applications using a modeling kernel. We tackled as a project a significant number of their issues, leading here as an example to significantly improved support of some complex Inventor surfaces. Yeah, just to mention loft and skins. So now we will have a couple of small videos. So yeah, this illustrates what we have done in BIM, especially in Exchange, as mentioned by Eric earlier. So, for example, we know that handling IFC files correctly is critical for our BIM partners. Their customers expect the model to be rendered correctly without any visual defects. And the nature of the IFC format itself, the way the objects are defined, requires the ability to compute Boolean operations, mostly cuts, during the reading of the file to be able to generate the actual shape of the entities. Like, for example, this is what we just showed before, cutting openings in a wall where afterwards windows or doors can be inserted. So this operation can be numerous in a real life model, and also can be very, very complex. So we have improved our Boolean operation dramatically this year to provide to deliver high quality results. And also significant effort have been made to improve what we can extract from IFC. So on the next slide, you will see relationships. So the job started in Exchange, of course, to access to them. The goal is to enable more complex workflows, in fact, like quantity takeoff, where it's important to be able to navigate in the model and to understand how different objects, spaces, rooms connect together. So we have improved the extraction and management of these relationships. And at the same time, we have also worked to better support several types of entities. I'm thinking about openings, objects, as well as spaces that can be now read and displayed in Exchange, and here, as you can see, in Communicator. And we will continue this job this year, working on OOPS Visualize to make these relationships available. So if we move to our plans for 2022, so we will keep the same release schedule as last year, and we are still now having the policy to release all of our products simultaneously, so including the platform. So we are heading for a first service pack 1. So as you can see, middle of April, we will have a service pack 2 end of first week of July, and our next major release will be mid-December. It will be OOPS 2023. So this year, as you can see again, we are planning to deliver 13 format updates, and in blue, so we will introduce Navisworks, and at the end of the year, DGN. So we have a bunch of other initiatives, projects. One is about material and appearances. So 3D printing solution provider, as well as manufacturing as service companies, need support of appearances. So appearances means colors, material, textures, and this is helping when it comes to print prototypes, and also in some cases functional parts. So Exchange is already supporting material and textures for several formats, and our focus this year will be to go further by adding the SolidWorks decals. Decals are a particular type of textures. On point projection side, so for our partners in the CMM or metrology space, we will add new options to the existing point projection capabilities that are offered by Exchange. The goal is to better manage some particular cases, like projecting points on very thin parts, for example. And as you have noticed, we are continuously improving how we manage the geometry in Exchange. So we have already delivered, as I said earlier, geometric improvement for Inventor complex surfaces, and we are currently working on our functions meant to adapt the geometry we extract from native CAD files to targeted modeler. We want to keep improving in this area. So we are currently working on a topic which is complex biperiodic surfaces like spheres for formats, and we will keep working in this area across the year. Parasolid convergent modeling. So Parasolid, as you may know, has introduced the convergent modeling more than 1 year ago. So it's about designing a part by mixing exact geometric surfaces and meshed B-reps. So I think it can be called also hybrid modeling, and it really makes it easier to work with imported mesh geometry, such as data coming from a 3D scanner. So we now see several CAD packages that are Parasolid based and that are leveraging the convergent modeling capabilities. So for us, it means that we will have to work on our CAD readers, Siemens NX and SolidWorks, and also on our OOPS Exchange Parasolid bridge to well support these new types of objects. And last is about this C# version of API. So it's something which is already in use by several of our partners, and we'll officially support it this year. But this initiative is part of a broader one we have around the developer experience, where we also want to simplify some of the key API function of OOPS Exchange, like, for example, functions to access to the tessellation. And as you have noticed already, so we have worked on in the BIM space to support new formats, so to help our partners who are developing visualization and collaboration platforms. So you have heard about Navisworks. It's a design review solution, which is strongly requested. So we have delivered prototype end of last year. We are heading to deliver a beta version in the upcoming SP1. So it will come in Exchange, but also in the platforms, and we will release it later this year, probably in our SP2 mid June. And aside this, we will start a new project, which is a new native reader for Bentley MicroStation format. So it's a DGN file extension. So MicroStation is a solution focused on design, construction, and infrastructure. So the support of this format is requested by many of our partners from BIM space. So we will start this project in Q3, and we will deliver early versions in Q4 to our partners who are interested by this format. We call them sponsors, and to collect their feedbacks and also to ensure what we deliver will meet their expectations. So in fact, we did exactly the same with Navisworks, and we think it's a good way to move forward in this type of projects. So this is it for OOPS Exchange. I will move to OOPS Publish. So quick intro first. Publish is a solution to generate 3D PDF documents and also to publish to the web various data from your application. So it's about aggregating any types of data. So of course, including starting with a 3D model, but also including metadata, including, for example, tables that can show a part list, a list of PMI, including animations and many other type of info. So Publish allows to define interactivity between the 3D scene and the 2D objects within the document. This is really where the value is. And for example, interactivity means when you have a table and 3D part aside, selecting something in the table will like a PMI, will highlight the PMI in the 3D and also highlight the faces from the part that are referenced by this PMI. So Publish makes it possible to export from your application rich and interactive documents like technical data packages, work instructions, reports for downstream visualization, collaboration, and even though reuse. And the last point is that Publish is also enabling consumption of this rich document on mobile devices because Publish offers the ability to convert these rich 3D PDF documents into HTML files that can be viewed in any browser. So speaking about the roadmap, I have one slide about what has been achieved last year. In fact, last year, our main initiative has been to support our published partner with a focus on the 3D PDF to HTML capability. The goal was to, so it's not a new function, but the goal was to support more corner cases and to guarantee high fidelity of the HTML document compared to the 3D PDF, of course, high fidelity in terms of layout and also in terms of interactivity. And in 2022, we will continue this focus on the HTML export. Aside this, we are also planning to work on the Adobe Reader itself to support the MBE workflows where technical data packages documents are created. So in that context, it's mandatory that the PDF document and especially the PMIs it contains behave similarly or exactly like what people are seeing in the CAD package when they are designing the components. So this will be about PMI fidelity. Fidelity in terms of graphic, but also fidelity in terms of behavior. And last, we will explore the support of PDF 2.0 format. So PDF 2.0 is an important milestone in the evolution of the PDF format. There has been some changes regarding the PDF standard intended for engineering documents. Some of you may have heard about the PDF A4E. So this new version of the PDF is based on the PDF 2.0 specifications. So doing this, we will also support some initiatives from the PDF Association, where several of our OOPS published partners are members, as well as ourselves, TechSoft 3D. So this is it for me, for OOPS Exchange and OOPS Publish. And let's move to the graphics with Eric. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Lionel. Like you said, let's just dive in and talk about what's been happening over on the graphics side of the OOPS platform. First, we'll talk about Communicator. Right, for those that aren't familiar with it, a quick overview. Communicator is our toolkit for building robust engineering applications in the cloud and on the web. It's optimized for web workflows, browsers, and engineering graphics. We've taken all of our expertise from those 20 years of working with Visualize and taken that to figure out how to build the best toolkit for the cloud or web-enabled applications. One part of that is Communicator can quickly load absolutely massive models, and it does this with a robust streaming engine. And this can be the case for what we call monolithic assemblies, or you could just have multiple combinations of assemblies or models. This is especially important for those of our partners inside that BIM or AEC space, where they have to support a federated workflow, where they're loading in multiple instances of enormous buildings. We also support client-side and server-side rendering to give you the most flexibility as to where that data is and where the hardware load has to be. And we support multiple different workflows, everything ranging from PLM, PDM, to CAD, to BIM and AEC. We run the gamut. So having said that, let's talk about what we've done in the last year. So of course, like with all the products in the platform, our core focus every year is our partner issues, format updates, and technology updates. And one of the pieces that falls inside those partner issues that we haven't talked that much about is performance. And you'll see this across all the different products that we did focus on performance as part of our partners' needs. Communicator has a very robust, strong, powerful streaming engine, but sometimes we still have to go through and make sure that things are optimized for our partners and for the different workflows we use. For instance, we have partners in the PLM space who don't use streaming, and we had to make sure that they were getting the best experience possible when it came to loading in massive assemblies that have been broken out. Similarly, for our partners that are working with these federated workflows where they are pulling in different pieces of models, whether that's structural, HVAC, electrical, etc., we had to make sure that the streaming acted the way they expected it to, that the largest pieces of each of these models was displayed first, and then it would fill in the smaller ones, really making sure that their customers were able to start interacting with the models as fast as possible. Another thing that we added last year for our partners in the PLM space specifically with support for assembly level features. The idea being, of course, for those not familiar with it, an assembly can actually define different geometry for a body that gets used multiple times in the assembly, and it may have different representations. Some of our workflows, especially those that have been adopted in PLM PDM space, didn't support it. They do now. And the big problem, if you're not familiar with it, was that when a user pulls down that model, if it had the wrong geometry, they immediately question our partner's application. So now we've removed this problem so that what they see is what they are supposed to get. Another enhancement we made to the core communicator was better error reporting, especially around Hoops Converter. Converter doesn't typically get called only once or to output only one file. Our partners typically do many output stages. So they'll read in different models, process and export images, CAD files, Streamcache files, STL files. If any one of those parts failed, all they got was an error that it didn't succeed, and they had to scrape the logs. So instead, now we've improved the error reporting so that they can very quickly see which stages failed, which ones succeeded, and their application can choose to inform their users of what they can do now, which workflows are okay, and what they have to remedy. So we're going to move over to some of the newer stuff that we finally added to Communicator. We'll just show you another video here. We added support for physically based rendering. For those that don't know, this involves different material and lighting calculations. We've had support for this through Exchange and also in Hoops Visualize now for a couple of years. We finally got it added to Communicator, and this may seem like, okay, it's just flashy, but while we all enjoy, high quality graphics, our partners have been asking more and more for support of this, whether it is GLTF objects or I need to have higher quality rendering, both in Visualize and in Communicator. So one of the things that we added that you just saw here was the ability to take an existing CAD model and actually convert it over so that it took advantage of our PBR calculation. So it's not even that you have to have all these materials in a GLTF file. You can actually read in any CAD assembly and convert it over. Okay, what else did we add last year? You're going to see across both Communicator and Visualize, we added new animation managers. And the idea behind this was to make it easier for our partners to author animation information. Typically, that goes across multiple workflows and involves assemblies. And the animation manager for both products is essentially a simple keyframe animator. You have different channels which can control visibility, color, location, rotation, scaling, etc. Over time, different interpolation methods. And we made it really easy to use this to support a variety of workflows. For instance, assembly or maintenance instructions, product configurators, BIM 5D simulation or walkthroughs. And you'll actually see a highlight reel of that coming up here. Another feature that we added specifically for our partners in that BIM AEC space is we added new shading modes. And the request was that their users are familiar with the existing applications inside that AEC space, and they wanted to be able to see their data in a similar way. And so we added a couple different shading modes in there. You can see a couple of them here basically put on top. Gooch shading, cell shading, where you get an idea of the hotness of the lighting, and also the ability to have your lines look more like they were hand sketched or drawn. All of that's been exposed to give you what feels like a more native BIM AEC workflow. Okay, that's what we added last year to Communicator. Let's talk about what we're doing this year. Besides the fact that we are, of course, always focused on our partner issues, and that'll be our main point, another project that we are tacking on is improving our rendering quality even further. And again, this will be across both graphics products. What we need is for these high quality models to come across the way they should, right? Especially when you look at certain sectors, there are material definitions that we need to support better, stuff like specular or clear coat. In addition, we want to take advantage of all the functionality that Exchange is looking to add to stuff like decal support so that we make sure that the visual representation comes through completely across the entire platform. We're hoping to roll this out at the end of Q2. We do have some less flashy projects lined up for the end of the year. We're going to focus on cleaning up the web viewers API. Right now, you can tell that we've just bolted stuff on, and in particular, the screenshot shows there's an awful lot of methods that probably should get refactored and handled differently. And so we're going to be going through simplifying that interface and making it easier to get familiar with it, to use it, but for our existing partners to maintain it. And we want to make sure that we make it as easy as possible so that you can adopt new versions. We're not changing things out from under you, and that we can deliver a more stable and robust product. Similarly, we want to go through and improve our API reference for the web viewer. Not everything is documented as well as it needs to be. We really do want to improve that. Okay, so that is Communicator, what we did and what we are doing this year. We're going to shift over to Visualize, and Visualize is our longstanding Hoops product. Right? It was the original Hoops product over 20 years ago, and it is our graphics toolkit for engineering applications and for native platforms, and that can be Windows, Mac, Linux. It can also be mobile hardware, Android, iOS, and even some AR and VR devices. The idea behind Visualize is that you can write your code once, not just your rendering code, but your operators, your workflows, interactions inside the graphics database, and also how your partners interact with it and what they want to do. But you write it once and you deploy it across any platform you want to support. It's, of course, been built up over time to support these advanced engineering workflows across a wide range of vertical markets, whether that's CAD, analysis, BIM, plant and process, even PLM. And of course, not only does it have a lot of functionality built in, but we make it easy for you to extend that to support the exact methods that your users need to deal with their workflows. So what did we do last year? Right off the bat, let's talk about some technology updates. We actually added 2 new drivers last year, and these were really important ones for us. First, we'll talk about what we call our Mesa driver. And this is a software-only version of our existing shader-based OpenGL driver. Why did we need to do this? Well, we have partners who needed this driver for 2 different reasons. One, with COVID, many people are working remotely and maybe remoting into different boxes. And certainly over the last few years, we've seen a big shift to companies using rack-mounted servers, headless varieties. And the problem is that these machines don't have dedicated graphics hardware in some cases. And so our existing OpenGL driver just doesn't work. So we had to clean that up. And especially you'll see this in the analysis space, where there may be no dedicated hardware, but you still need to interact with it. And so Mesa enables you to always be able to run Hoops, even if there is no hardware support for the graphics. We could shift over. We could talk about our new Metal driver. For those who are not familiar with Metal, this is Apple's proprietary graphics SDK. And this is essentially a competitor to OpenGL or Vulkan on their own platform. The reason we had to add this for our partners who ship on OS X and iOS is for years, Apple has been very clear that they want to remove OpenGL support. They want it to go away. And every fall, we worry that this is the year that they're going to rip it out and it will no longer be supported. Why is that a problem? Our partners who ship on it right now, their graphic systems would not work. And so we had to add Metal to isolate our partners from any changes to that underlying technology platform. Now that Metal has been rolled out, if Apple chooses to get rid of OpenGL, our partners can just change a few lines of code and they have support for Metal. So no disruption to their customer base. Okay. We have a video here that we wanted to show you, and this is the animation manager that I talked about inside Communicator. It is in both HPS and Communicator. The HPS video here shows you a little bit more of core functionality, just rotation, scaling, translation. The Communicator side, same kinds of functionality, but we show you how the animation manager can be used inside some of these different workflows that I talked about, whether that's assembly instructions, maintenance, 5D simulation, robotics. It could even be a BIM walkthrough you're going to see here. So, or digital factory. So we think this is pretty cool. All the products had the ability to handle animation already, so you could write code for it. We've had partners that have done that. We just wanted to make it easier and faster for you to be able to do so. What else have we added inside Visualize? One new culling method that we added in the last year. This was requested by partners in the analysis space. And the idea here is there's lots of times in their workflows where they need to see what's going on inside a model. In particular, you can think about airflow or exhaust inside a car or its systems. And so front face culling is a new way for them to very easily show the user what's going on. So they can simply turn off those front faces in different parts of the scene graph. So they didn't have to use clipping planes or sectioning or anything else. So that was a new enhancement that went in towards the end of the year. We also did add improved AR support for users on Android. Now we can actually try to match the lighting to what's going on in the real world so that it is more believable and more real. We updated to a new version of AR Core, and we're hoping to continue to do that for iOS going forward. Now, one key point here, of course, our improved AR support on iOS or Android is HPS only. We don't support mobile on 3DF. All right, so that is what we did last year for Visualize. Let's talk about this year. And this, I feel, is going to be an exciting one for us. Right off the bat, something we've been working on since last year is custom shader support. Now, for some of you may be familiar if you work with 3DF, our older interface. We have provided custom shader support inside 3DF for many years. We've improved it. We've cleaned up the documentation, and you'll be able to go in there. And if you need, have tighter control of your fidelity. In this particular case, it's an example of zebra striping. So important for the sheet metal industry, especially around automotive. We are also bringing this to HPS. So for the first time, you'll have access to this, and you can tweak your vertex shaders and your fragment shaders if you need tighter control. Another project that we are super excited about is rendering of liquid and gas volumes. This comes to us again from our partners in the analysis space, where the market has moved in this direction. It's no longer necessarily enough to be able to just show streamlines or the bouncing orbs. No, what our partners want and need is the ability to see these liquids or gas volumes. They want them to look high fidelity. They need it to look as close to photorealistic as possible in some cases, and they want it to be combined with the models for the data that they are trying to analyze. So we're really excited about that one. We're hoping to get that out in an initial form by the end of the year. Those are two really big projects we're working on, but that is not all. We've talked about the fact that we did not support the spatial entity relationships in Visualize yet, so the rest of the platform had it. We're going to be rolling that out here shortly, so you'll get access to the same information about how all of these different IFC pieces work together inside their spaces. We're also going to be improving our support for out-of-core point cloud workflows. OOC, what we call it internally, was built mostly as a viewing solution. You have a scan file, import that into a preprocessor, then you can view it and edit those points. But what we need to do is support a more interactive workflow, especially for partners out in the field. They want to be able to just fire up their Visualize application, use their tools, get these point clouds, and put it immediately into that out-of-core engine so that they get the high performance point cloud support they need. In addition, they may not be working with Windows hardware. Previously, OOC only supported Windows. We are going to roll out support for all of our different Visualize platforms, and that includes adding support for mobile. And truthfully, a lot of that is because more and more you see tablet-based scanning solutions that are being used out in the field for these real-world engineering workflows, and we need our partners need us to support that. And the last point for Visualize's roadmap, and this one goes back to a developer experience that Leanne mentioned earlier. This mostly will impact new evaluators. The idea is, some of you are familiar, we provide integrations into different application frameworks. Qt is one that we call out here. And we provide sandbox applications for you to work with. The problem is that typically the widget, the integration that we provide, has application level functionality embedded in it. And so if you have a Qt-based application you want to develop, in order to use that widget, first you're going to have to rip out a bunch of code that was applicable to our sandbox. We want to make that as easy as possible. So instead, we're going to clean up those widgets, make it so that you can just easily grab it, drop it in, and start working with your framework of choice. And then we'll have separate application code in a derived class. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to get up and running with visualizing your app. Okay. Last slide on here. This is actually our platform release schedule. We hadn't brought it up, although you did see it with Exchange in the file formats. One point that I want to talk about on this slide, you can hopefully see how the Hoops platforms outside of 3DF all line up. And that's definitely been a focal point for us the last year. Previously, our partners using Communicator would have to wait 2 weeks after Visualize was released, which could be 2 weeks after Exchange was released. And now instead, we are delivering the platform all at once. So as soon as Exchange supports a new file format, you get access to it with Visualize or Communicator. So you can also see we are continuing our 3DF support. We have those detailed out throughout the year, but this gives you an idea of when all of our different releases are scheduled. Okay, and that actually wraps up our part here. So I believe now we can turn it over. Jonathan, I think you're going to run the questions and answers.
Yeah, we will. Thank you, Lionel. Thank you, Eric. A lot going on there and some exciting things also on the roadmap. We have some time. This is about our partners. And so we just dropped a bunch of stuff on you. We are interested to hear from you if you have questions. We have a few minutes here to entertain those either for Eric or for Lionel. And feel free to unmute yourself and ask them, or if you want to, you could put them there in the chat. We have a comment, not so much a question, but this is a good one. The OOC is impressive. One thing that would be nice would be to support conversion of the OOC format with an API so that it could be done in the app as opposed to requiring a separate tool. So that's referring to there is an internal OOC or out of core point cloud format. There's a convert.exe file that you run your XYZ or your, I guess, PTS files through. And then that gives you your file that you can interact with. Eric, any other comments about that? It's a great suggestion.
It is. That's a great suggestion. And I'm happy to say that that is part of our project around improving OOC. So you will now be able to use APIs inside your application. And the goal is for you to just be able to take those points inside your application, you're bringing them in, call the APIs, get that inserted and sorted into OOC, and then be able to use it directly instead of having to write these temporary files, convert it, and read it back in.
Great. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, so that's great. Hi all, could you please give more details about Hoops Exchange C# API? So that would be for Lionel. This has definitely been a topic of interest, and we've been working on an open source Exchange C# direct integration. It's not so much a wrapper, but a direct integration. Well, if you ask our consulting engineer, Brad, he has a very specific way of describing it. But it is available on GitHub in TechSoft 3D, and we do have several partners using it. Lionel, any other comment on this C# API for Hoops Exchange?
As you said, Brad is a specialist. I'm sorry for that, but yeah, it's in use. In terms of performance, it seems to be very good. There is no loss. As said, Jonathan, it's currently available on GitHub, but what we want is to officially support it and to make it officially part of our package. That's what I can comment, but we can answer more in details to this question with the help of Brad after this meeting.
Yeah, great. So we'll make sure we get back with you. So that was from Elvis. Thank you, Elvis. And
okay.
then Dave Calkins, who will be presenting later, He's using Exchange Sharp at Hexagon Metrology, so that's fantastic. Antonio, and we have Visualize 27 version. Will it be an LTS, limited time? I forget what that acronym is for, Eric, but can you comment on that? Long-term
stability release is what it
stability.
stands for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right. And for those unfamiliar with it, the idea behind the LTS release is that it acts like a normal 3DF release plan for the first year. And then over time, we taper down what we put in it. So less new functionality, the idea being that we're making changes to it, less over time, we're putting partner requested fixes into it, and we're not changing compiler support. So the idea is you can lock in and stay on that for 3 to 4 years. We really want to make it easy for partners that aren't always looking to update to the new version, or who are tied to other third-party integrations. We get that one a lot, that you only can update your compiler every 3 years. So we need to be able to support you better. The question there, I believe 27 is also going to be an LTS release. I can confirm that for you. I won't put Ryan on the spot on that, our engineering manager. Oh, he's going to pop in anyway.
Yes, 27 is an LTS release.
All right.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Ryan. For you, Lionel, will kinematics be supported for Cullada file formats?
We don't have short-term plans to improve our Cullada reader. But yeah, as you may have heard, it's a little bit different from kinematics, but we have invested in mates. We are currently considering to support mates for other formats. So currently it's CATIA v5, but we may work on, as I said, other formats. Yeah, we didn't make any decision regarding Cullada, but I would be happy to discuss that with you, of course.
Yeah. And also from Jonas, will the format automation ML be supported? It's not one that I'm familiar with.
It's, if I may, it's one of the big formats for the German Industry 4.0. It's kind of a package where they reference step files and Cullada files. There's really good documentation available about the automation ML. So.
Okay, no, yeah, some answer, and to be very honest, I was not aware about this format. I will contact you after this meeting to learn more about it and the market and use cases for it. But if it's something that references existing files, as you said, like step and Cullada, it might be something not too complex to implement. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it will be a low-hanging fruit for you.
Yeah. Okay.
I had another about the kinematics, because I was excited when I saw the things you've done for the CATIA thing. There is kinematics in you are supporting ISO step files very well, and there is kinematics in ISO step. Will you support that? Because that is in the latest versions of AP242, which you support. There is kinematics modules.
Yeah. So to be so yeah, we don't have plans today for other formats like step. To be very clear about what we are able to extract from CATIA v5, we are extracting the assembly constraints. So as you may know, it can be information such as plane to plane assembly, axis to axis, and but mates are not defining an actual kinematics model. It's an input from which you can determine kinematic skeleton. So from which you can determine the kinematics linkages. such as a pivot, a ball joint, and so on. So for us, it was an investment because we got some requests from several partners. I think we completed a first step, and we have several partners who have started to implement the mates from Exchange, or will start very short term. But we will learn from these partners. I'm quite sure we'll have to improve in different areas. I saw a question from Camilo about API improvement and also documentation, so I can answer at the same time. We are currently working on making the mates information available in OOPS Visualize, in the connection in between Exchange and OOPS Visualize, so the sprocket. And we will take this opportunity to this project, to improve the documentation. And we are really willing to help you improve your processes. So I think that as part of the semantic information, mates, kinematics information is probably the next step for Exchange. We have a good support of PMIs. We have a good support of features to help our manufacturing and metrology partner. I think mates and kinematics is definitely the next step. So yeah, I will be happy to discuss with you about your needs and what you are expecting from us. And it's probably something that could be put in our roadmap, not this year. We have seen we have a lot of projects, but definitely for the next years, it's something we will consider.
Great, thank you. One question about point clouds, the E57 file format, will that be supported?
Yeah, so same. We are starting to see some requests about point cloud formats. We don't have short-term plans, but since it's growing requests, it's something we will have to work on this year. I mean, in terms of analyzing these formats, what will it need from our side in terms of investments, what use cases, and so on, and make a decision. So, yeah.
Great. And I think our last question, and this is great. These questions are all great. The last question is around IFC. For edition 3 support, are we supporting, it says the new things supporting infrastructure. So are we starting to support specific data from there?
So we haven't worked on this particularly. We are moving forward step by step. It might be a little bit frustrating, but yeah, as you have seen, we have invested significantly on IFC, extracting these relationships, supporting more objects, speaking about openings and spaces. Of course, we will continue our investments on IFC to better support. It's a candidate feature for this year, later this year, to better support some direct definition of some objects. As part of it, yes, we will consider other improvements our partners are asking for. But I don't have a time frame for this at that point.
Yeah. So please, thank you, Lionel. Thank you, Eric. Please, other questions? Please, let's continue this in the forum. And as new things become available, or as we put them on our schedule, you will find that in our developer zone, there are links to our product roadmap and what we will be supporting.